Mr. Rice gave us the nod of approval. That means good morning. It's Viewpoint. It's Wednesday morning. April something, isn't it?
Yeah, it is something in April.
We're up here on Road 2250. You know about that road.
It's the 25th already. Yeah. It's soon to be Mother's Day.
Oh, my, yeah.
Followed shortly by Father's Day. I wonder why I'm getting old. Well, there's the reason. It just goes zing.
You're reaching this morning. Do you want to go for Thanksgiving and Christmas while you're at it?
Might as well. They'll be here before you know it, too.
Good morning, Mr. Logan. Good morning, Mrs. Greenslade. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
Good.
We always try to start, you might remember, we always try to start with a kudo or two, something going on in the community. And I noted, folks, that the Chamber had a workforce readiness expo here. They had that at the Jeff Street Christian Church. I don't know what I should know about that, except that they're exposing high school, even down to the low range of the freshman incoming students, talking about getting yourselves ready for the workforce. That seemed like a pretty good thing to do. What can you comment about that, please?
Well, since I have a freshman at the high school, she called me last night.
That's your daughter?
Yes. It's my youngest grandchild, my very youngest. Gabby called me last night, and she had been to that. She is a freshman.
Okay.
And she said that one of the things that they covered, and I thought it was so important, was the fact that when you come to the point where you have to have some sort of resume, whether it's to get into a college or to get into the workforce, that to have past experiences on there that show leadership ability, that show a willingness to volunteer and help others, that make you look like a more well-rounded person. She's an excellent student, and that's great, and I'm grateful for that. But you have to be more than that. You really do. You have to be a participant in life. And that's one of the things they stressed, and I just say thank you very much for that.
Well, that's a great thing. That's a real positive thing for these youngsters. Obviously, clicked a little bell in her little head, something that she remembered.
She did, and it impressed her. So I thank them very much for having this meeting for the kids. That's invaluable as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's our kudo to the Chamber for that effort. That's a good thing. If I may take a quick commercial for Lincoln College, the fundraiser. We're going to have the St. Louis Rivermen there Wednesday, May the 9th. It's a great jazz outfit. The tickets are available at the President's office. Hopefully, we have enough tickets for everybody. The seating is limited, so if you're thinking about going, you better get a hold of Amy Gallagher at Lincoln College. That's going to be a great event. I noticed Roy and Marcia the other day, particularly might be apropos with you with the police officer, police chief in your family, weapons cache that they discovered down on the border in Arizona. Have you seen that thing that's going around on the internet?
Gotta say nope, I haven't seen it.
Incredible number of weapons that they found down there, all stuck away. Hundreds into the thousands, including hand grenades and rocket propelled grenades. And you have to think, and stolen cars, which they had hidden away down there. And how they uncovered this, I don't know, but it's remarkable. And of course, the goody two-shoes will say, well, now you just can't be too tough on these immigrants. Well, anyway, let's get on to the program here this morning.
Okay.
You want to start that? I don't get that. Well, why don't you welcome our guests? Once again, we're happy to have them up here with us this morning.
Yes. We have with us today Marcia Greenslade and Roy Logan, and they are representing the Lincoln Park District, and there are lots and lots of things going on out there now that summer is here. That's what we call the really busy season. I'm sure all 4 seasons are busy, but summer is the really busy. And there are lots of kids, especially in this community, who enjoy all the things that are offered. by the Park District. We talk lots of times about the good news and the bad news. If you don't mind, I'd just like to come out of the box with the bad news. I'd like to know what your board is planning, what the timeline is, what the plan is for the pool.
The pool.
That's the sad news.
It is the sad news.
Yes, it is.
It
really.
was certainly a difficult but kind of an easy decision at the same time. We've been looking at knowing that we were going to have to replace the pool for several years. And in fact, we've had a design team in place since late in 2010. And we have a challenge every year to keep the pool operational. It's 47 years old. It's outlived its
Really? 47
expectancy
years, a half century
by about
almost.
10, 15 years already. So it's a challenge for us. And then when the laws came down about the Virginia Graham-Baker Act, which had to do with, started from a young person being actually held to the bottom of a spa because of the suction
Yes.
of the drain, and unfortunately she drowned. So new legislation was put into place, and we complied with the laws as they were presented to us. That was back in 2008. They since then have made the law even more stringent. And in our pool, it's an old aluminum pool, and we tried to find a way that we could remain open at least for one more year. And it's just not happening. The cost to do that, to make it compliant, was over $100,000. And
Just be wasted.
Exactly, it's pouring good money after bad, because we could have went ahead and spent that money, but we don't know that something else wouldn't have happened or broken in that pool this summer, and we would have been out without the pool anyway. So what that did basically was just pushed our timeline up about a year. So we're rushing and working on the design to get in grant applications, but we're well into the process, and our goal is to have a family aquatic center. What we have now is just a recreation or a rectangular body of water.
Yes.
And so we're certainly hoping, and it's our goal to have a pool that's going to last another 30, 40 years, maybe a multi-vessel type with different areas for...
Would you back up and
Yes.
define your terms, please?
multi-vessel, instead of one...
That's when you have more than one pot on the stove.
Exactly. Instead of one body of water, most pools now have separate areas. One area would be just a square area that you would have your big slide come down into. You would have another area that would be zero depth, basically for the young kids, that has the splash availability, the features in that area, and then you would have your lane pool that would be for swimming, for doing laps, and then just recreation, just having fun in. So that's certainly the trend, and it's what we want to do.
And that would be three separate
They would
pools, as
still
it
all be in
were?
the same area that our pool is currently in.
Yeah, geographically, but it would be
Right.
three
They would
separate
be
units.
separate units.
Uh-huh.
That's our goal. Financing is always an issue, but we're thinking we can get that done. So that's what we're very excited about it, actually. I think there's a lot we're going to miss about not having the pool this summer. Some good things and some bad. But I know we talked the other day, and we're going to miss the kids coming down Wyatt Avenue, riding their bikes or walking down with their swimsuits and their towels over their shoulder. But it's certainly a good opportunity for us, and I hope the community will be patient with us as we work through the process to get what we think will be an awesome facility.
Best case scenario, perhaps in 2013, next year.
That would be best case. I'm not sure
Is
that's...
that a little optimistic?
It's a little optimistic, basically because we're trying to get grant money. So
Yeah.
we have to work with their timeline. You put your grant in, and it's several months.
Oh, yeah.
It would be well after the first of the year before we even knew if we got the grant. So we know that, I shouldn't say we know, but it would be unlikely that we will be open next year.
Requesting grants is an art into itself. Writing grant writers, that's a specialty.
It is a specialty, and we actually have hired someone to do that knows all the keywords, the key numbers, the key phrases that you need to
And that's
use.
not
Many
an expense.
people have to do that.
It isn't
hire
right.
an
You're a pretty intelligent lady, and Mr. Royboy is a pretty intelligent guy. You'd think you two of you could sit down and concoct a grant that would fly.
And I
But the
and I
re-
have done it in
but-
the past.
uh-huh.
I think where we're at now, though, is the competition is so stiff for that money.
Mm-hmm.
And just as an example, with the pools, when that law came down, which went into effect back in 2008, but the deadline to get your pool compliant was October 1st of 2011, there were 800 pools in Illinois that were not compliant. I know that there's still a lot of them that aren't compliant, and they simply don't know what they're going to do. They're financially strapped in the situation that they have a fairly new pool, but they cannot afford to make the changes. With us, it was easier because our pool is so old, and we're ready to replace it. That was always has been our goal. But we just felt that it's well worth the money to get to spend a couple $1,000s or whatever to get $400,000 for a grant.
So what is the board thinking of then in terms of time? If 2013 is ideal, what's practical?
Practical, I can guarantee we'll have a new facility by 2014.
Do you think?
Absolutely. There's no question in my mind that will happen.
Roy, you look like you have some words.
I do.
Some words are coming
Time
out.
I enjoy talking.
Time out for Roy,
I know
boy.
he's been quiet over there for quite a while.
Oh, it was just so hard.
Just jump in, Roy.
I can
wherever you
almost
want
hear
to.
your heart beating
Okay.
over here. You're getting so upset.
Well,
Just put your
it's
hand
such
up.
a sizable amount that it's just not prudent not to pursue it. And we've got some things that are very much in our favor. We are the only public pool. We don't have a lake or any other body of water for access to swim. or
we
anything.
did, but that's gone.
So we think it's worth the wait because it's such a sum of money that you just really can't prudently walk away from. So it's not what we want by any means, but it's where we are.
Yeah, well,
And welcome to life 101.
yeah, like Bill always says, it be what it be.
That's right.
Well, we say it is what it is.
Yeah. You know, not for 1 minute would I deprecate efforts for safety for our youngsters. Not for a second would I do that. But I think of all the regulations and so forth, and of course, I went back to the times when you could drink water out of a hose and it didn't kill you. You know,
Or share your pop can with
yeah, we'd share
4
that.
people and nobody
Yeah.
died.
But
Well, those
there's
days are
so
gone,
many
Judy.
regulations that it must be very difficult to operate in today's environment in a public park setting such as ours is. You know, so I suspect that there's not a day goes by that you have to open the mail and say, "Good Lord, another something else to follow."
There are tons of regulations, and for the most part, you understand where they come from and why they're needed.
Yeah.
A lot of them, I think, are probably unnecessary, but, we've always complied with everything that's come down because you have to. It's the law.
Right.
With our pool situation, as an example, our pool, that situation could not happen the way our pool is set up, but it doesn't really matter because we're a pool and we need to comply.
Yeah.
So that's just
Simple
the way
as
it is.
that.
But the liability with a pool, to me, every time I pass somebody's house that has a pool in their yard, I think, and I don't think this is sour grapes, but you can judge, okay? I could never have afforded a pool. But if I could have, I don't think I would have wanted one in my yard. I'd be scared to death that no matter what kind of fence I had, somebody's kid or somebody's dog would get in there, or even a squirrel, and I'd find it floating in there in the morning. It just gives me nightmares, and I can't imagine running a public pool. You've got to have lots of rules and regulations, because the liability has to be just out of sight.
Liability is the key word for everything. Anything we try to do, the first thing that pops into our mind, or somebody suggests, like, we can't do that liability-wise, and they don't think of those things because their mindset isn't that way. But unfortunately, we do have to think of that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, of course, a part of that, it's concomitant that if you're going to have something with an exposure like that, that you're going to have that liability, because there are lots of our legal friends who, in their own words, are ambulance chasers, and that creates a terrible environment. And I don't want to make my law friends angry, but they all know that there are we had a lot of scallywags in my profession too, so that's not a big deal. But it does cloud up the issues when you have a public exposure like that.
Well, it does, and the days are gone when, if you fell down and you broke something or whatever, it was your fault because you probably were doing something you shouldn't have. And now it's just kind of a sue-happy society a lot of times. We've been very fortunate, that hasn't happened with us. And for the most part, our people are good people. If something happens, they will generally, sorry, it was our fault, and they accept that. But
let me ask a question. When our pool was operating, did we have? I'm going back. Old people do this a lot, Roy. Going back to
We know, we do.
no, seriously.
I was going to say, you didn't mention my name in that.
In the heyday of the Lincoln Lakes, which was a wonderful spot, of course, that was the Depression, and nobody had a nickel, and you'd walk all the way from town out there to the Lincoln Lakes or ride a bicycle or whatever, and it was a marvelous swimming hole and very, very safe. But what I'm getting at is we used to have, every spring, we'd have Learn to Swim Week. And that was a big thing. We taught hundreds of youngsters. And by the way, inevitably it turned about cold about 2 or 3 days out of the week. Yeah. But it was a big thing out there. And then a part of that was the Red Cross life-saving program. And old Billy qualified to be a water safety instructor when it was all said and done. And Herb Alexander doggone near drowned me while I was getting that license. But nonetheless, do we have anything like that out there? I get to the point now. Do we have anything like the pool, or would we have anything like that?
We offer swim lessons every summer. Obviously, that's not going to happen this year. The YMCA does it at the Elks. They offer lessons, and Lincoln College also offers lessons. I would think they'd be scheduled before long. So there's certainly, when you talk about the lake, Bill, that's where I learned to swim at, was at the lake, and that's where I passed my test. So I have fond memories of that as well.
I think that there's a whole group of people around here that have fond memories of the days at Lincoln Lakes.
Well, of course, it was a great spot because it was created by dredging for sand and gravel, and they had all that marvelous, huge sand beach and that long boardwalk going out to a 2-story, 3-story diving tower. That was a big deal, Roy, when you got to be able to dive from the top of that tower.
I was really little then.
Had to be. Yeah.
But I do remember it.
I remember you out there. You were 6 months old and diving from the third level.
Yes.
I was always amazed.
I just remember him at the snack shack. He was always in the food area.
Imagine that.
Well, we're talking too much about swimming because there are so many other programs that you have, and I'd like to continue that swimming, but we need to move on. This is a very good-looking brochure that you have created here, folks. Let's just talk about Get Up and Move 2012, the summer months. Go ahead, Roy.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're just going to kind of jump around here and there. We're not having the pool this summer, but we're going to offer something for young people to do. And we're calling them Awesome Afternoons. I've got 2 young college people. Christina Larson, she's going to spearhead this program with us, and she was our pool manager last year, loves kids, is great with them. Her helper is going to be Jason Sheely, and we're going to do all kinds of different things. We're going to combine, and we're not going to tell this to the kids, but we're going to combine exercise and education.
Okay.
So we're
skip that education word. Maybe they might be more interested.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
sneak it in.
We're going to do things like plant a garden, and so we're not nutritionists, but we're going to talk about the good things to eat and why something is better than other choices. And what the kids aren't going to know is that it's going to be a themed garden, and we're going to make salsa when we start to get our produce.
Oh, really?
Yes, and so we hope to raise enough in quantities that each of the kids can take maybe a half a cup home and share what they've made, share what they've grown. We're going to plant trees. Now, we're fortunate enough to have a tree farm at our park district, and we've got a large tree spade, and it involves a lot of equipment, tractors with water wagons and such, and we think that's something that the kids will really enjoy seeing this equipment work.
I hope it's no gumball trees, please.
No.
Please, I'll cry.
Yeah. No, we don't have any of those.
Well, thank you.
Or
Thank you,
will we?
Roy.
But, there's another old-fashioned way of planting a tree, and it's called dig a hole with a shovel.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that, too. So we're going to show them technology.
That's the way it was done before,
You're right. That's how I do it at home. But we're going to do scavenger hunts. We're going to start, believe it or not, we're going to start one day in the bathroom. Flush the toilet, and where does it go? And you know what? we're going to get a tour of the sewer plant. And so that day we'll focus on ecology, conservation, water purity. You know, we're going to learn all kinds of
Wonderful.
stuff.
No, really, that's
that
a
neat?
great idea.
Yeah.
Pretty basic, you know, to stop think about it, but they just do it and that's that. So you
Yeah.
ought to be aware of what happens after they hit that lever.
Yeah, and so we're going to keep the tour appropriate.
Oh, well, yeah, but
Well, that'd be nice.
but you know, really, only a very inquisitive kid would have thought,
Now I
where
wanna know
do
what's
it go?
inappropriate.
We're on the air, Marcia. We can have to talk about it on the drive home. But no, you know,
Oh, dear.
and sometimes kids come in little taller versions, but not very tall. Because I've always kind of wondered about that myself. And when we ended up in this position, I'm like, well, now's as good a time as any to go find out.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to go down, and Charlie Lee is going to open up the back doors of the IGA. And how does it get there? And what's it take to get that jar of peanut butter in that grocery store and out to the front shelf? And you know,
Okay.
there's just a lot
Good.
that happens. We're going to go take a tour of the fire department.
Good.
And you know, when we're doing this, we're going to walk to get there.
Okay.
Won't
Wow.
that be fun?
Wow,
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Actually
But,
walk.
We've got just tons and tons of great things planned. One of the things we have coming up right out of the gate is hunter safety. And we host that
Yes.
program.
That's an excellent thing.
And it teaches kids and young people all about gun use and safety and things of that nature. Our Logan County Quail Unlimited and Delta Waterfowl of the Lincoln Land Group, they are the underwriting agency for that. And it's a Friday night and a Saturday day. There's a snack on Friday, there's a sack lunch on Saturday, but it's a 2-day thing, and it's free. And it's another thing that's mandated by the Department of Natural Resources, that you have to have completed this course in order to get your FOID card, your
Yes. Good.
firearm owner's identification.
That's most appropriate.
But we're always anxious for that. You know, we've got the Nathan Turner Memorial Fishing Clinic in
Yes.
It's a
Jersey.
neat thing.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
very neat, yes.
Yes. That's where tragedy has sprung hope.
Yes.
And a lovely family to share with. We're going to do the clinic on Tuesday, the 5th of June at 6:30. And we're quite excited about that. We got Herb Dreyer from Department of Natural Resources coming in. And he's going to teach our young people how to tie a hook on to the line. And when we do this, understand that we use like real heavy cord and wire bigger than a clothes hanger. So we're not demonstrating with little hooks,
Yeah.
but little hands and big pieces sometimes work better together.
Yes, that's right.
Well,
And of course we have drawings, and so we'll see if we can't find some nice little fishing poles with tackle boxes included. And because on Saturday, the 9th, Chief Greenslade, acting as the DARE officer, is going to take all of us. Well, you're going to meet us there to the Hickory Lane Pond up in Atlanta, and we're going to have a fishing derby.
Oh,
And
good.
so there'll be
nice,
tons
yeah.
of prizes and great fun. So we'll see how well you've mastered your skills between Tuesday and Saturday when the pressure's on. But that first week of June, we'll be offering tennis lessons.
Can we back up
Yeah,
to
sure.
the hunting in just a second? What age children would this include? You can't just go out there as a 5-year-old and get a FOID card, surely.
No, I think you would need to be like somewhere between 7 and 10. You need to be old enough to be able to focus that long, because you're here Friday night from 6 to 10, almost 10, and then Saturday goes from 9 to 3. But you got a lunch break in there, so that helps.
you know, age is not necessarily the requirement for focusing.
Well, true.
I've been told that I don't focus very often, so I don't. What do you suppose that means?
I don't know. We'll have
I
to look
noticed
it up.
also that you're going to have a little bit about drawing. You're going to have Julie Larson work with the kids. She's, of course, created that funny thing called dinette set. By the way, I found a guy over in Champaign. I got to tell this to Julie. Pick up the phone, call her, I guess. Or she better be on here. She had a fan over in Champaign. I met him down in Springfield last week. And so I have to convey that to her. How does that work? What is she going to be working with? The basics of drawing with the youngsters and that?
Well, she's going to take their imaginary superhero and show them and teach them.
Their own,
Yes, how to bring that from your
Creation.
mind to the paper.
okay.
Oh, my.
And we've done this for a few years. It's a great opportunity to hang with a nationally syndicated cartoonist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not sure you get that in Springfield or Bloomington, and we're small town USA.
Yeah.
But we got it here. And believe it or not, one year, one of our participants was a young boy from the agriculture background. His family farmed. And so he had an agricultural-based superhero
Sure.
Okay.
that was rescuing people from combines and things like that.
Oh, my.
But I'm like, that's his spin on it, and that's good.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
that's
Certainly.
But
Well, we're going to take just a
Sure.
couple of seconds if our producer is ready here. We have a thing called sponsors, and we need to recognize those folks.
I understand that.